some of you may not know that I am a young boy. Like, pretty young. And I recently saw that a game titled Half-Life Alyx was coming out. Now, I don't live under a rock, so I obviously knew what Half-Life was, but I've never played the games. And luckily for me, Valve, as the generous people they are, decided to release Half-Life 1 and 2 along with a bunch of other games like Half-Life Opposing Forces. So I decided, why not, and played the original Half-Life. I had no idea what I was getting myself into. The classic tram ride, one of the most iconic sequences of all video game history. Except I thought it was lame.
Ah! Are they gone? They are? Okay, good.
Sorry about that. Anyways, as a person who grew up with cutscenes to introduce them to the game, I just thought it was generally boring. But the good thing about playing these old games is that you can learn the history behind all this. Little did I know that scripted sequences were somewhat of a luxury then. And of course I saw the G-Man, who is a reoccurring character we'll see a lot throughout this video. After the tram ride, I was greeted by a security guard who said I was running late and kindly let me into the building, while I stumbled into that same guard now sitting at a desk. After having a mental breakdown, he told me to grab my HEV suit and head over to the test chamber.
They were having some problems down in the test chamber too, but I think that's all straightened out. They told me to make sure you headed down there as soon as you got into your hazard suit.
At that point, I wandered around the building for a while, ending up in the break room. After I got myself a soda, I headed into a different room where I found the HEV suit. And I don't know about you guys, but I always found that voice so calming.
Welcome to the HEV Mark IV Protective System for use in hazardous environment conditions.
When heading to the test chamber, some scientists told me that they have faith in me, and I went on in. While I was in the chamber, I pushed a crystal into a laser beam. Yeah, I was confused too. Then this happened.
Get away from the shutting down. Attempted shutdown.
What the actual... After that, my brain was like one of those drug PSAs from the 90s.
This is your brain. And this
Renaissance Cascade.
this is what happens to your brain.
Renaissance Cascade.
Luckily, I was fine and headed back up. Come on, get up. Get up. Oh, yes! He's getting up. Oh, this is amazing.
Ah, it's good to see you.
You kidding me? Then the head crabs showed up. They were stuck in some glass tube things, though, so I could walk right past them. Well, after walking past the head crabs, there was one out there, but luckily I just could dodge it. Then I got it, the crowbar, the iconic symbol of Half-Life. This was a huge turning point for me, as now I had a weapon, and the first thing I wanted to do was immediately smack a guard down so I could get his gun. I felt terrible now knowing that these were friendly. Now, coming up here, we're witnessing another scripted scene event that I had no idea was so rare. Over in this area, we're introduced to two more enemies, the Hound Eyes and the Vortigons, which I actually thought were pretty scary, but it turns out they're just enslaved, which we'll learn a little bit more about in Half-Life 2. Now, before I tell you this, I just want to explain something. One of the key differences between new and old games is the way they deal with game features. Most older games don't even have tutorials. So that's why I spent maybe over half an hour in this room. I thought, oh, maybe I need to align the boxes with the lights. Nope. Maybe there's something I need to do to break into this room. Nada. This one room took me such a long time that I needed to look up a walkthrough. And then I found out you took a scientist to it to have him open it with his eyes because it was a retina scanner. At that point, I just felt stupid. And after that, I didn't know where to go, but eventually I found the valve and twisted it. Then I was on my merry way. I finally arrived at the moving platform and went down. When I reached the bottom, I immediately almost died because of this BS. Yeah, I know. So anyway, after looking down, I saw a new enemy, the barnacles. Basically, if you touched them, they would suck you up if you didn't shoot them down in time, or bash them with your crowbar. Along with the barnacle, the bull squid was introduced. This thing basically just shoots acid at you from afar. After that, I found my way out and headed forward. I did some parkour, and the next thing you know, I was in Chapter 4. Chapter 4 is called Office Complex. Office, that... to Chapter 5. The first thing I was met with was a guard trying to open the door, but he got dragged in by a head crab zombie. So I needed to find a way back to that door so I could launch a satellite into space. I went on in and I was introduced to turrets. These are just annoying. They shoot at you when you step into these red lines. Anyways, after exploring for a little while, a scientist told me that the military were finally coming to rescue us.
Soldiers arrived, and they're coming to rescue us. Of course, I have my doubts that we'll do long enough to greet them.
But that's definitely not what I saw just a little bit later.
Rescued at last! Thank God you're here! Well, seriously wounded.
So apparently the government sent out military to kill all scientists so that they could cover up the evidence. I did not expect that at all. After that twist, a security guard told me to head up to the surface.
Head for the surface. Elevators are out of order, but we can still climb.
Well, as soon as I got up there, it was hell on earth. So yeah, that happened. After I went down the ladder, there were a lot of vents. But finally, I found my way out and back up to the window where I could open the door. I went in and Chapter 6 had begun. I was introduced to a new thing in this chapter. It's kind of like a trolley. You get on, press E, and choose your speed. I obviously went full speed and got launched into a puddle of radioactive waste, in which I swam for a little too long in. Anyways, after a little while, I reached this guy. He's technically the first boss, even though you don't really fight him. What you do is turn on 3 generators so that you can shoot him with a laser beam. Like, that won't go wrong again, but I digress. Like I was saying, you turn on the 3 generators, which are oxygen, fuel, and power. They weren't too challenging. The only one I struggled with was a giant fan that propelled you up, and then you jumped into a vent. After turning them all on, I thought to myself, well, this is the end of the game. I defeated the big boss, and now I'm going to the final chapter. Boy, was I wrong. And that's gonna be the end of the video for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. This was an incredible video to make. I was so excited sharing my viewpoints on Half-Life, and I hope you guys enjoyed it as well. Let me know in the comments if you would like a part 2. Let me guys know what you want to see in the future. And also, I want to give a huge shout out to OddRod on Discord who gifted me Half-Life 1. Thank you so much. Without you, this video couldn't be possible. I hope you enjoyed this video. Bye now.